Hi, my name is Celeste,
And I'm Manami.
and this is our management plan. For this presentation, we're going to run through physical environment first, then we'll go on to our opening routines and closing routines, also known as bookending. Then we'll jump into rules and behavioral expectations, classroom community, and finally consequences. So for physical environment, we based our layout off of my student teaching placement. So for example, my guide teacher's classroom, the doors over here, and the desks, all the students are seated in pairs of 2. So this really helps allow students to work with each other when we ask them to turn and talk to their seat partner, and also encouraging development with language as from Vygotsky. And we also have the teacher desk in the very back of the class in this corner here. And my guide teacher actually mentioned to me that this is an ideal placement for the teacher desk because it allows a very good observation area for the classroom, because you can see the students from behind and see if they're doing what they should be doing, and if they're not, you can react accordingly. We also have some storage shelves with class materials and supplies located on this side of the classroom. And on this shelf here, there's a designated turn-in basket for each period labeled by the period with that number. And there's also a little drawer on the side over here that includes work to be passed back that's already been graded, as well as a drawer that's specifically designated for no names. So when students don't receive a certain assignment back, they have to, be self-responsible and hold themselves accountable and go back and check, and see if maybe they didn't put their name on their assignment. There's also 2 extra desks, one located in the back of the classroom and one in the front for additional workspace, which is also very helpful in my class because we do have a special education cluster and a paraprofessional that works with these students. So this also gives them a lot of extra room, and it really helps them so that they're not just constrained to their 4 little desks in this corner over here. And we also have a dedicated wall space with organized displays all around the room. For example, we have our wall in the back here, which is the student work wall. And I found this to be very engaging for students. They actually do look at their work and they're very excited to see their work displayed on the wall. So that's awesome to see. On this side here, we have a weekly agenda. It's kind of like on a whiteboard, so students are able to see what's going to be going on during that week and see any upcoming assignments, any upcoming homework due dates, or any exams or tests or quizzes. They're also located there. We also have some vocab that's also displayed next to this, and just various rules, procedures, and school information that's specific to the school in the front here for students to easily look up and see. We also have a Promethean board at the front of the class with some extra storage space behind the whiteboard, as well as another portable whiteboard here. And there's also various decorative items such as flags from around the world and specific to the United States because I am student teaching in a U.S. history class.
Next, we're going to talk about our opening routines. Jim Burke talks about how important it is to have an established routine and having a similar opening to the class every day so that the students are comfortable walking into the classroom, and how he talks about it's one of the key components to effective instruction and a manageable classroom. So when the students walk in, will already have the opening slide projected up on the board with the daily agenda. It's going to include the materials they need to have out, so that way they know exactly what is expected to be on the desk when the bell rings, any upcoming assignments that are due, so that way if students need to turn in homework in that day, they know that it's up on the board. They can also be reminded of any upcoming assignments that are due, maybe later on in the week. And then finally, the daily learning target, so the students know exactly what they will be learning for the day. The next slide would most likely be the daily warm-up, which is essentially the hook for the lesson. And this can be something as simple as a turn and talk pair share, or maybe a quick write just to get the students engaged into the day's lesson. For the closing routines or the book ending, we'll wrap up instruction with the reflection of the day's lesson. This could vary from something like a short oral discussion with the class or maybe a written exit ticket for something a little bit more extensive. And then we'll preview the next day's lesson, whether that's a continuation of what we've been learning or if it's at the end of the unit, then we'll introduce and preview what they'll be learning for the next unit. And then to close out the class, students will always return all the materials that they borrowed for the day, push in the chairs, and clean up after themselves. This is to promote self-accountability and self-responsibility, as well as respect for the classroom environment and their community.
Rules and behavioral expectations. One of the most crucial aspects regarding rules that Marzano highlights is the importance of involving students in the process of designing them. So students will participate in creating classroom rules and behavioral expectations, and giving students the opportunity to do so. It also allows them to suggest alternatives, additions, and deletions, and ultimately give students more autonomy and agency by advocating for what they believe is right regarding rules and behavioral expectations. These classroom norms will also be revisited throughout the year to promote open communication, and rules and expectations will be communicated to students and parents through a class syllabus. Some of the non-negotiable rules and school-wide rules include no hats, hoodies, or anything on the heads, no gum, also enforcing dress code, and being respectful to others and their property, as well as phone and technology use. On to classroom community. So students will learn each other's names through a variety of different activities, such as creating name cards in which they will write their name and draw things about them on the name card, and use this as an activity for students to not only introduce themselves, but also learn about one another and start to learn each other's names through that activity, as well as some name games. One of the name games that was actually brought up in class the other day by one of our classmates, Farhia, which we thought was an awesome game, was called the Mystery Person game. So we thought that this game could also be used as a way for students to learn each other's names, and another fun activity to kind of create classroom community and build this classroom community as well. As for cultures and identities, our classroom community will respect the cultures and identities of our students throughout the efforts to make connections to students' funds of knowledge throughout both the curriculum and instruction. We also want to make sure that we are giving our students various opportunities for them to connect to their lived experiences outside of school. As for classroom community and creating opportunities for students to contribute to this classroom community, students will also have equity cards. So if we must call on students to make sure that we are hearing different voices, making sure we're hearing ideas from everyone, not just the same students, also to kind of alleviate different status levels in the classroom as well. We also want to make sure we really emphasize open-mindedness and the idea that we are going to be disagreeing with ideas and not people, and also not tolerating any personal attacks. And students will be expected to treat one another with respect in this instance as well. For example, during class debates, students must use academic language and also justify their opinions in order to not direct things against the person, but direct things against the position instead. And all of these will contribute to creating a positive and compassionate classroom community amongst students and teacher as well.
Lastly, we're going to talk about consequences. Our policies of consequences is based on restorative practices, and where we respond to conflict with conversations in order to counter the types of traditional negative consequences that contribute to the school to prison pipeline. As far as escalation of consequences go, we'll start with a one-on-one conference with the student and the teacher. And if the problem still persists, then we'll move on to creating a behavioral contract where both the student and the teacher agrees to the certain consequences for certain actions. And then finally, if the problem still persists, then a conference with the admin or a parent would be necessary. And then for positive consequences, there would be positive phone calls or emails home. And then teacher reaction, this can be something as simple as a little written note on a paper that's passed back. And then finally, tangible recognition. And that's it. Thank you.